Hello to everyone, and my name is Clara Aguilar. For those of you who already know me from previous webinars, I'm the marketing manager for Orders in Seconds. All right, and I will be introducing the speakers. I'm going to be telling you guys about all the goodies we have in store for you for this webinar on mastering field sales routes planning in 2023. Okay. Now, guys, tell me what you're doing. I see, okay, Ruth from Pulaski in Westbury, New York. Thank you. I'm here. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Ilupo. All right. I'm sorry if I didn't, but I tried. I tried. All right. Thank you guys for joining and welcome. All right. Okay, so let me see. I'm just gonna do a quick tech check. Everyone can hear me, right? Hear me well and can see me. You guys can just do like a thumbs up is good. All right, thumbs up. Oscar, we can see my screen. Everything is good. All right, perfect. Thank you, Steve. All right. All right. Well, today, guys, oh my goodness, today. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. First, I want to welcome everyone to this webinar. Thank you for being here, our customers, all our signups from LinkedIn, Steve's clients. You guys are in for a treat. All right, Orders in Seconds has partnered with Steve Benson, the CEO and founder of Badger Maps. That's the #1 app in the App Store for route planning for outside and field salespeople. So who's excited about this webinar? Let me know in the chat, guys, okay? Now, the reason, guys, we created this webinar and joined forces is because we had some OIS customers who are owners and operations managers of wholesale distribution businesses, right? And they're responsible for sales route planning for their reps. So, guys, tell me, how much fun is sales route planning? Tell me in the chat, do you guys dread it sometimes? Hmm. Hey, Alex, thank you for being here. Let me know, we know that sales route planning can be a struggle. We know that it could be very time consuming. And then there's the question of like, okay, if I wanted to use some type of technology, like which app would I be using, right? So what we did is in this webinar, we brought you an expert who will answer all your questions and give you direction. You see what I did there, guys? On how a route planning tool can help your business. So OIS and Steve, we want to see your business succeed, so we created this webinar just for you. All right, so let's get into our speakers for today. All right, your speakers today, Steve Benson, as I mentioned, who is the CEO and founder of Badger Maps. He is also the CEO of Badger Sales University. After receiving his MBA from Stanford, Steve joined Google, where he became Google Enterprise's top sales executive globally in 2009. In 2012, Steve founded Badger Maps for outside and field sales people to upgrade existing CRMs with mapping, routing, and scheduling. And for you podcast junkies out there, I know you're out there because I'm one of them. He also hosts an Outside Sales Talk podcast, a podcast specifically for outside sales people, which is really good, by the way, guys. I had listened to a couple of episodes. And Steve is also the president of the Sales Hall of Fame. All right, so Steve, thank you so much for being here today.
Clara, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Great, great, great. That's that energy that we need right now. And guys, another special treat for you today is our co-host today is Orders in Seconds. It's our Oscar Guerrero, our founder from the founder of Orders in Seconds, right? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him. He has 20 plus years experience in the IT sector within the financial and food and beverage industries. He's worked with Citigroup and Merrill Lynch as a software development consulting, building and testing web-based global enterprise applications from the ground up. Oscar is a proud U.S. Navy veteran specializing in database systems and a New York Institute of Technology graduate with a BS in Science and Technology. He took the knowledge and experience, right, that he gained throughout the years and built his company Orders in Seconds. As the president of OIS for more than 17 plus years, Oscar and his dream team have been empowering B2Bs with cloud-based mobile applications and services, helping wholesale distributors and manufacturers automate their order taking and fulfillment workflows with the latest mobile solutions and exceptional customer service. So a big welcome to both of our speakers. And guys, on Zoom, we do the fingers to the camera if your camera's on, but if not, you can put up a clap emoji. All right. So thank you guys for being here. And we're going to go into today's agenda. First, we're going to be reviewing in a Q&A format, right, on the topic of mastering field sales route planning in 2023 and how a route planning solution can empower your sales team and your business, right? Then we're going to go into the live Q&A where you guys get a chance to ask specific questions about your business, about your sales team. And guys, if you have a question that comes up during the webinar, please go ahead and type it in the Q&A section. So on the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see an icon for Q&A. Just click on that icon and then submit your question that way. This way we have them all ready for when the Q&A portion happens, right? All right, and lastly, guys, we have a special gift. So make sure that you guys stay till the end. Those of you who have attended our webinars before know that our hosts are very, very generous with these gifts. So make sure that you guys stay till the end. All right, so let's get started. We're gonna get started with our Q&A, and I'm gonna hand it over to Oscar, who will be asking the questions, right, and Steve, who will be answering. So go ahead, Oscar.
Well, thank you, Clara, for that great and excellent introduction. And a round of applause for Clara. Thank you.
Oh,
well, welcome everyone to this webinar. My name is Oscar Guerrero, and I'm the founder and president of OiS&x. We help B2B wholesale distributors and CPG brands optimize field sales efficiency with half the cost. And today, I can tell you that we are very proud to have a very special guest speaker that specializes in route planning for field sales. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. This is fantastic. I think we're going to cover some really important stuff today.
Excellent. Yeah. And I know it's been, since December, I started, knocking at the door of Steve, and finally, we may making this happen for our clients today that had a lot of questions about route planning. So thank you again. All right, so let's get started. So we have this first question from one of our clients that actually back then, he had probably about 30 sales reps, and they had many, sales or many stores that they had to visit. So basically, that's where the question came from this customer that he told me, I have all my sales reps. How can I best arrange, all the routes for each one of them? And, he was having a hard time. So this is what the question one relates to this case that I have from the client. And basically the question, Steven, here is, let's say I have 500 customers to visit, and I have 3 field sales reps. How do I best optimize my sales routes for each of those sales reps?
Absolutely. So, what we do at Badger Maps is we help field salespeople build out routes and figure out which customers should I be focused on a given day. So, both your order management system and your ability to understand where to go and what to do and in what order are both 2 pieces of technology that exist in your technology stack. So if you have this particular problem, which I think a lot of people who are in field sales do, the best thing to do is kind of the way to approach the problem of having efficient routes is to first look at what do I understand about about the territory that I'm going to be optimizing. So at most companies have a bunch of information about every single customer. And, a lot of times that information is not perfect, but it lives somewhere for most people. And that somewhere may be notes in your phone, that's somewhere maybe a spreadsheet, that's somewhere maybe an ERP system or a CRM system. But you have information, things that about every customer that helps guide you in your decision about who you're going to focus on. So if I had this particular situation where I have multiple sales reps and I have a whole bunch of customers to visit, the first thing to do is carve up the territory in a way that makes sense. Meaning, if I had, California and 4 sales reps, maybe I would split up Southern California into 2 pieces. I would take Central California, and then I would take Northern California. So you're geographically breaking up those territories. And then over time, and most people have done this, right? And over time, you figure out who's got too much work, too little work, and you move stores or customers in and out of the territories. So the next step is to figure out, okay, well, I've got information about all these places, and all my different reps own different accounts and different areas in the map. So now I want to bring all this information from wherever it lives into a mapping environment that can build routes. And so maybe I know I've determined who my A, my B, my C customers are based on their order history and their potential to purchase in the future based on their size. So maybe you want to create rules around, well, we want to see our A customers this many times a month, our B customers, we need to get to at least once a month, and our C customers once a quarter. And so now you can start keeping track of who you visited, and using a routing tool, it's very easy to build out routes that, in such a way that you're spending a lot less time behind the wheel, but at the same time visiting the customers that are really important. So I guess that's a long answer to the question. The short answer would be, how do I optimize my territories? Well, with a territory route optimizer. There's an app for that. Basically, is the short answer.
That's right.
That was good. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So this is now getting better now and more challenging. And this is, again, goes back to another customer that I had that, this customer actually, they were small when they started. They were about 50 employees, and then they, grew to about 1,000 employees. And basically, this is where, they were visiting a lot of stores in the city here in New York City, and also in rural areas, or basically suburbs areas of Long Island and other areas in Jersey. And basically, they were challenged as to how do they best reduce their driving time to visit more stores outside the city, because it's where they had to do more driving. And so how can, Badger Mapping here can help these sales reps reduce their driving time to visit more stores?
Absolutely. Well, and different territories have different challenges, right? So if your territory is the states of Wyoming and Colorado, you have a very different problem than if your territory is Southern Manhattan. In both cases, you want to be efficient, you want to focus on the right customers, and you want to move around in a way that is efficient. If you're in Wyoming, you're driving a lot faster in between customers than if you're in New York. But in both cases, your job is often to see X number of customers a day and do so in a way that makes sense, so that you're not zigzagging around the state or zigzagging around Southern Manhattan. Instead, you've got a good plan that makes sense on the map, and that minimizes your mileage, that maximizes your time in front of customers. And really, that's a lot of what this is. It's having an optimal route. It doesn't change the world. It doesn't revolutionize anything really. It saves you time and allows you to spend more time with your customers. There's a lot of time that goes into planning a trip, and there's a lot of time that goes into actually being on your trips out in the field. And if you can have a good solid plan with an optimized route, seeing your best customers, you can both reduce that planning time and reduce the time that you actually spend out in the field in front of your customers. So to answer the question, how do you reduce your driving time, is you have an optimized route that either takes a lot of planning if you're doing it with pen and paper and Google Maps, or it's a pretty simple process if you have a piece of software that optimizes routes for you.
This question really came up because a lot of companies wanted to save money on gas, since it went up, and basically our customers were concerned as to how can they save more money. So this is basically implementing this solution would be huge for them.
Yeah, well, and that's the time that's spent behind the wheel is doing two things. It's wasting the reps' time. It's keeping them from making sales and servicing their customers, and at the same time, it's burning gas. The nice thing about a software solution of this nature is the savings in gas easily pay for the software, because the software is not that expensive, right? It's $49 a month per person using it. So you easily save that much in gas if you've got people in the field going out and visiting a whole bunch of customers. And this is very easy for us to calculate, because most companies are paying out on their mileage already. They're like tracking it and reimbursing their employees, so they can immediately see, during a trial period, that those gas prices drop, and calculate how much they've dropped by. So the CFO of companies loves that part, because they're like, oh, the month we implemented this, we actually spent less money. So it's a great point, Oscar, and something that everyone can calculate very, very easily, because they're already tracking that information.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. The following question is basically, it was similar. I mean, it was from the same customer that I was saying that went from 50 employees to 1,000 employees. And then basically at the very beginning of time, when they only had 50 employees, they basically were doing, this with the routes with Google Maps and Excel, pretty much. They had a very good handle of it. But then when they grew to 1,000 employees, basically, they couldn't do it anymore. And this is when they came to me and say, Oscar, how can we best do this, right? And is there a better solution out there, right? And then I guess this is where the question comes that what would be the difference of using just plain Google Maps versus using Badger mapping?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm the right person to ask this question, because my last role was I was in charge of the Google Maps API sales into the Western United States, and it was in that role at Google that I kind of came to understand and get exposed to this problem that field salespeople and field service people have, where they, when they're in the field, they don't have a great way to optimize. Now, the beautiful thing that Google Maps, so there's the Google Maps that like you use on your phone, right? But Google also makes those services available in something called the Google Maps API. And that's what I was working with at Google. And what the Google Maps API basically does is allow other companies like Badger to build software on top of a mapping environment. So, good examples of this would be like Yelp the Yelp mobile app uses Google Maps, or if you go on a company's website, you'll see a lot of times like a little store locator where they'll show you all their stores if you go to Starbucks website or something. But what Badger did was we built a tool for field salespeople on top of Google Maps, so that it's actually the same maps that we use. We use the maps that Google uses. We use the map tiles, the actual maps you're looking at. And we've built a solution on top of that allows salespeople to do a whole bunch more things. So some of the key ones we've written here at the side, but a lot of it really has to do with information, the data about your customers. So where your data lives, maybe in a CRM, we can integrate with that, so that both the CRM and Badger have the same information. And that's not something we charge for. That's just a part of the service. If your data is in a spreadsheet, we can upload that into Badger. Wherever your data is right now, if it's in a database, we can bring all that into basically your own version of Google Maps, where all the data is your data. And then we can also, in that tool, gather information. So when the reps are in the field, they can do what we call a check-in, and a check-in is basically a way to take notes about their interaction that they just had with the customer. So they can say, and different companies want to ask different things, but this is different than your order management. Obviously, this isn't taking the orders. This is like, did you meet with the customer? Did you get to ask about this upsell? Was the decision maker there? Different companies, there's all ask different questions. But the important thing is that you can gather information and then it'll save that information, date and time stamped, and location stamped, and send it all back to the CRM system or wherever your data lives. And so that's really one of the bigger differences between Badger and Google, is that we have access to your information. You can visualize that information, work with that information, figure out how to prioritize your time based on what you know about different customers. And then I guess the other major difference is that Google Maps doesn't have like a routing algorithm in it. Like it doesn't have a routing optimizer. There's not like you can't just, even if you type in 10 customers, there's not a button that you can press that says, give me the best route in between all these customers. Whereas with Badger, you've got your customers on the map and you just take your finger and circle the customers you're interested in and add the other ones that you're interested in. And then you press optimize and it says, this is the best way to go. And sometimes you have other limitations too, like, oh, I have to be at this person in between, 10 and 12, or I have a set appointment with this person at 2 p.m. And so those are other constraints that Badger helps you deal with, whereas you can't really deal with those in Google Maps. There's no scheduling, there's no element of time like that in Google Maps. But that's why Google built their product to be built on top of.
Okay, excellent. So this is definitely, I like this, because as companies are small right now and they trying to scale as one of their strategies, this is going to be huge for smaller companies today to start at least learning about it and basically implementing this as a long-term solution. Like the client that I just told you, went from 50 employees to 1,000. So this is great. All right, so the next question is, sales managers and business owners spend a lot of times in planning routes manually. How can they save time doing this task? Because in the past, I can tell you, I used to see sales managers grabbing paper-based maps and doing the sales routes. And what will you, in this case, can tell our clients about how they can save time on this?
Absolutely, yeah, and that was the history of this, right? Like we started with paper maps and a pencil, and we would pen. You used to see a lot a paper map of a territory on the wall with different colored pins stuck in it for all the different customers, and then people would take a string, or they would just kind of use it to synthesize it with paper. But it was, doing it manually is just it's like being an accountant without Excel, right? It's really hard. Like you can, and the human mind's not actually capable of optimizing routes. It's a really complex math problem. So we can kind of feel it out if there's not too many points, but it's like, 3 points, there's no way to optimize, right? You have to decide if you want to go clockwise or counterclockwise for a triangle. But the fourth point we can kind of wrap our heads around depending on how they're laid out. But given traffic patterns and the way it's best to drive around a city, even at 4, you get in trouble. By 6, you can forget about it. Like the human mind just isn't capable, and we can kind of draw a shape around something. We can connect all the points, but that's rarely the best way to go, just given the way traffic patterns and the way you can move around a city or a state. It's just, the human mind can't really optimize that. And so to do it without a computer, without a piece of software to do it, it just takes a lot of time. It's very hard. You can kind of get close, and some people's, it's kind of a sliding scale. You can spend a lot of time planning and come up with a better route, and then you spend less time and driving a poorer route, or you spend less time planning and you spend more time driving a poorer route. But neither is a good or optimal or efficient system. Whereas in minutes you can design all your routes if you have the software to do it. Just like in minutes you can take the square root of things on a calculator, whereas doing that in your head's really, really hard.
All right, thank you.
It's worth noting that between our research shows that between the planning and the actually driving the inefficient routes, it adds up to about 20% of their time, or about 8 hours a week per sales rep is spent on. And so we're always, you'll hear us talk a lot about like save 8 hours a week. That's that planning time plus that time that you spend actually running inefficient routes.
Okay, great. So, okay, this next question really is the main reason that we did this webinar. And basically, I'm going to have to start asking, everyone that is in the meeting, if they can type yes, if they want to really learn from you, how can they increase their sales with this route planning solution? If you can give us, how can they take advantage of your solution in here, Steve? That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, and when you save a bunch of time, you can spend that time on efficient things and spend your time in front of your customers, then you end up selling more. The part that's kind of obvious. Like if I have 8 extra hours a week per sales rep, they get more stuff done. I guess what's less obvious is the way that if you have a tool of this nature, you can figure out who you should spend time on and where you should prospect, given where you are on the face of the earth, given where you are on the map. Figuring out who to best focus on is something that's really important. And that's a big part of what we do, giving you your information about your customers in this map-based environment is really, really helpful. And so that's the part that's harder to understand, how much more you sell by being focused on the right things. But it's kind of obvious if you have more time that to spend selling, that you sell more. I guess is the question also, how do you get Badger maps, or is it just how do we help with the actual planning?
Well, just how do you increase obviously the sales, right? Like for example, when I first saw 20 to 25% more with Badger maps, to me immediately, caught my eye that I say, I have to look into this. How can I, sell more by improving 20 to 25% more?
Yeah, and we talk to a lot of people. I mean, Badger has about 8,000 customers, 8,500 now, and kind of across the board, these are the kinds of numbers. So I've heard people say we're selling 50% more. I've also heard people saying we're selling 5% more, and I think a lot of that has to do with how inefficient their routes were beforehand, and so some people are really able to. Some people really had some screwed up systems to do it, and so, or just, I also think some people are better at this than others. Just understanding how to kind of manage a territory and design, kind of stay on top of the surfboard with territory design and figuring out your day and scheduling. I think it's like dancing. Some people are just naturally better at it than others. Anyone could learn to waltz, but it's some people are just going to pick it up faster. And sometimes the best salespeople on the team are just good at this sort of thing. They're good at designing their days. They're good at managing their time. They're organized people. This helps them, but it helps someone who's not naturally awesome at it. If you're not naturally gifted with maps and directions and kind of scheduling and timing, then this helps those types of people even more.
Okay, excellent. So you see, the thing is also what caught my eye was about this, when you save 8 hours to meet up more customers, basically, that was actually one of the case studies of one of our clients, that they increased the amount of customers they were visiting a day. And that basically definitely, at least 1 to 2 stores per day per sales rep, that was a huge win for this company. And yeah. I think this is where just the planning with your solution will be huge for our clients.
Yeah, and that's another result that we see kind of across the board. Because we interview customers and take, run stats on it and stuff, and we it's not exactly the same because there's different businesses that do different things. Like some people have 4 meetings a day, some people have 18 meetings a day. If you're doing 18 meetings a day, it's not really a meeting. It's more of like touching base or dropping stuff off. but kind of across the board, it was about a 20% lift. And our average customer was doing about 8 meetings a day before using Badger, and they got 2 extra meetings a day. That's kind of on average. And so 2 a day is 10 a week. Really, and it really adds up over time, right? And once again, it's not just about the number of customers you're seeing, but it's seeing the right customers. You know, a lot of reps kind of oversee certain customers and undersee other customers, whereas if they to optimize their revenue and to actually, you know, do as well as they could, I think it's just naturally certain customers are just more along their route. But when we've analyzed what people were doing before and after, there were just a lot of inefficient routes being driven, and I don't have a really great answer as to why certain customers were just being overseen. Maybe they were like on the way home or something, and they're so people want to, because people want to do well, they want to succeed, and so they, you know, it's like trying harder but not trying smarter doesn't always get you the best result, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, thank you. Okay, this question also, if you can give us an advice on best practices on how to do prospecting in the field for new customers. And this case, you know, kind of ties into the previous question. You know, how can you make, you know, your sales reps visit, you know, new prospects to increase the sales, right? Like if they had to visit 1 or 2 more new people for prospecting, you know, what's your best advice on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess so far we've been talking about your existing information and what people already knew about their customers. The other thing, so we do a whole bunch of stuff, but one of the other important things that we do is we are tapped into databases of information, and we overlay that information or bring it onto the same map with the information that you already have. So if you sell to convenience stores, you already know where a lot of the convenience stores are, but maybe you don't know where all the convenience stores are. And so we're tapped into data sources of things like convenience stores or grocery stores. So you type in convenience stores into Badger, and we bring up all the convenience stores in a given area, just like Google Maps can, right? It's actually one of our most important data sources is that same exact data source, the data that, so Google sells that information. And so we can pipe it in right into this environment where you already have your pins all over the map, right? And so we're bringing our information in and overlaying it with that, almost like a clear piece of paper being laid over the top of the map, and we already have all these places, and you can search all different types of things. I mean, from convenience stores to grocery stores to auto body shops, really whatever. Anything that you can search for in Google Maps, you can search for in this as well. It's the same backend system, and so then when you find one that's not, you can see when you already know about something and we know about something, because the pins are kind of laying on top of each other. They're different shapes, so they don't like cover each other up, but you can see that they're both pointing to the same place. And maybe that's still useful because maybe you don't have the right phone number, or maybe you don't have the right hours of operation, and we have all that information. But then you'll also see, almost invariably, you'll see convenience stores that you didn't know about. Maybe it's new, maybe it was being missed because everybody thought someone else was getting it. Whatever the reason, you can see, well, these guys think there's a convenience store and we didn't know there's a convenience store right there. So what's that one? And you can then save that as a lead and when you press save in Badger, it pushes that information to your CRM, your ERP, whatever you're integrated with. And so now you've captured that new lead, and you can add it to your route and build it into your day.
Okay, so I was very impressed with this feature, that if I'm a sales rep, you know, in the field, and I'm already, let's say I visited 10 stores and maybe I want to visit 2 new ones, you know, in my route, I can easily just type in, let's say, restaurants, or type in supermarkets, and it will just kind of give me, you know, all that information that I'm looking for in the field real time, which I was like, I was very impressed by that feature. So this is great, Steve.
Yeah, and if you have specific types of things, right? Like if you sell things to ethnic grocery stores, you can type that in. If you sell things to a specific type of restaurant, like we had a customer who sold canned, really hot, nice canned tomatoes to pizza places and Italian food restaurants. And so their whole goal was to get in front of, they would go to these pizza places and Italian food restaurants, and they wanted to talk to the cook to crack open a can of these really good tomatoes and let the cook taste them, and that often led to sales.
Great, amazing feature.
I
Oh.
just wanted to mention we have about like 4 minutes for questions 7 and 8. Okay.
Okay.
Together.
So, how do you make your customer relationship management system better for sales reps?
Well, effectively, your customer relationship management system or any database or spreadsheet that you have all your information in, that's a very powerful and important tool, but it often doesn't you're not able to use that information in the way that you need to when you're going into the field, which is in a mapping environment that has routing and has geographic analysis, the ability to filter and look at things from different perspectives and colors based on the data. So, if a rep is if a rep is driving out to this suburb 45 minutes away, they don't want a list of all the customers that are in, that area of the state or in that state. And they don't want to look it up zip code by zip code. They want to see it on a map because that's, then they know who they're driving past. And so we basically make all that data in the CRM or wherever it lives really useful for the reps who are trying to move around in the field. The other thing that we do for the CRM that's really important is that as you go through your day, when you're updating information or doing check-ins, all that information is being sent back into your CRM. And so because the CRM is gathering all that really good data, you see all of a sudden the CRM is really useful because, after you've been using this for a few months, all the data is correct in it. And that's a big challenge with CRMs, is getting reps who are in the field to use it, because they're not always, a lot of CRMs are really built to be used at a computer, right? And so if you're out in the field, often the experience isn't that great because it's not given to you in the way you wanted it. And so when you connect this, a lot of companies see a big lift in CRM usage across the organization, because the marketing team, now the data in the CRM is really useful for them because the data is correct, and so they can use it more. And so the number we see a lot is about 50% more CRM usage. A lot of CRMs, you can track how much usage is going on. So you'll see about 50% more usage of the CRM. And that's because all the data that we're piping back into it is good. So you can get these types of insights.
Okay, great. All right. So this last question, this is very important for sales managers and business owners. And, they basically want to have a better view of what's happening in the field with their sales teams. So how does, the plan, the sales planning help a sales manager better understand what's going on in the field?
Right. Yeah. Managing a team that's kind of distributed all over the place is really, really hard. But your job is to, teach them things and coach them and make them the best that they can be. And, the goal of Badger is to really allow you to do a lot less micromanagement, because today you really have, if you don't have something like this, you don't know where people are and when. And so you're kind of doing a lot of checking up on them, and you don't know what's going. A lot of your job as a sales manager, if you don't have a tool that's gathering data from the field really well, is trying to figure out what's going on in the field, right? And that feels like micromanaging to people. So this tool really allows you to see who's doing what they're supposed to be doing, who's where in the field. It doesn't track you like minute by minute as you move across as you drive down the street, but it's capturing the latitude and longitude of each check-in that you do. So when you're with the customer, after you interact with the customer, you do your check-in, which is just clicking a button on the phone and then answering whatever questions the company wants answered. That check-in, when it's saved, is also saving your location. And so as a manager, you can run a report at the end of the week and say, hey, which reps have notes saved, not where the meeting was supposed to take place. And sometimes people just forget to take the notes, and you can tell that's like a one-off. But if it's like, if all of Friday afternoon is all the check-ins are not from where they're supposed to be, but they're from like the beach or the golf course, you know, there's, as a manager, you can just immediately see there's a problem. And so you don't have to always be breathing down everyone's necks, worrying that there's a problem, because now you just know, is there a problem or is there not a problem? And so it's a very helpful management tool in that way, that actually lets you not micromanage people as much, because you just already know what's happening in the field.
That's great. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Oscar and Steve, for such a great presentation. Steve, I'm going to say we really appreciate all the knowledge that you shared and best practices with the OIS customers and all of our attendees today. I'm certain, guys, tell me in the chat, you know, what resonated with you today? You know, what was mentioned that you think could really help your organization, all right? And then now, let me see. And now, guys, too, also, let's just, you know, thank our speakers, because they were like so good at this presentation right now, too. So just let me know in the chat, too. All right. And now the best part is we're going on to the next steps, right? How can Steve help your sales teams, right? I'm going to be handing this over to Steve so he can share a little bit about what the next steps would be if you were interested in working with them, right? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw that there's a question in the chat. Is there, if I only have 10 reps, is this helpful? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is helpful if you have one rep. We have companies that have, you know, single reps signing up, and then we have companies with 1,000 reps in the field using this. And so it's really, whether you're a small company or a big company, one rep or 1,000, having efficient routes makes the number of reps that you have better and more effective. So this is really for everybody. In terms of how do you get in touch with us? So, you know, OIS and Badger have a partnership, and you know, because we kind of do different things for the same people, so it makes sense. So you can visit our website if you want to learn more about us. Just you can just Google Badger Maps and you'll find us. And also when you schedule a demo, we have a whole team of people to show you the product and get you all set up and everything. We set people up and help them out. And so, you know, there's a free trial, so you can make sure that it really works for you and is like a good solution and you like it. But
yes, you're giving the free gift away. They gotta stay away.
Don't worry, I'm not giving it away. I'm not giving the details.
Wait, what does it say, guys? No, but thank you, Steve. No, thank you.
It's like Christmas morning around here, you know.
It is.
We always have a free trial, but dun 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 dun.
Well, guys, you know, if you're interested in learning about Badger Maps, we actually make it really easy for you guys. I just posted a link in the chat, so you guys fill out that form, and somebody from Steve's team will get back to you, right? So that's one way. And if you guys did want to schedule a demo by just going to the website, make sure that you have to tell the person you speak with the top secret code, OIS webinar, okay? Mention OIS webinar, because this is part of your gift. So we want to make sure that you get that, okay? All right. And then guys, if you're listening or if you're driving in right now or having lunch and don't have time to look at the link and everything, I'm going to be sending this in an email afterwards, okay? So no worries there. All right. And then now, before we get into the Q&A, we just have a few quick updates about OIS. So I'm going to let Oscar go ahead and go ahead, Oscar, you can go ahead and speak on this.
Yes, thank you, Clara. So I just wanted to tell everyone about our solution, Orders in Seconds, which this solution is OIS Pro for salespeople. And this is, you know, the perfect companion tool to Badger mapping. After you set your routes and now you're sending your sales reps to the field, now you gotta give them a tool basically to be able to take sales orders, to give them, you know, at least more visibility about their inventory, as to, you know, what they can sell and not oversell something that we don't have. And you know, it also includes beautiful digital catalogs, which, you know, I know from the large company that I was telling you about, that they used to, you know, give the sales reps a big binder with, you know, printout product sheets, and basically that they used to spend a lot of money on it. Now these sales reps are only using one iPad, and they got these beautiful catalogs with all the product information. So this is, you know, one of the best tools in there that can help your sales reps in the field. Additionally, you know, this also helps your sales reps build a much better relationship with your customers, because they got all their information on hand about the customer, so they can help out right in the field instead of, you know, calling the main office all the time. So great tool, best companion tool, you know, with budget mapping. And this is what, you know, we also excited this year. We just came up with the OIS B2B e-commerce, right? So this is the tool that you give your customers to place orders for you. And again, this became so popular now with COVID, right? Which a lot of the store owners basically didn't want you to be visiting them, but instead they wanted a way to be able to, you know, for you to give them a tool so they can place the orders for you, right? And additionally, right, still every company has, you know, a good amount of customers that, you know, they rather order themselves, you know, 24/7, the best convenience time. So this is where the B2B e-commerce app can help your customers place orders for you, and, you know, you just get them and you process your orders immediately after they send them to you. So it's a great tool. And just for the month of February, we're giving a 50% off the setup fee. So got to make sure you take advantage of this now. So just type yes in the chat if this might be something that you want to look at for your customers.
Yep, thank you for that, Oscar. Yep, guys. So if you're interested in learning more about OIS Pro or the OIS e-commerce app, or if you had any questions at all for the, you know, for us at Orders in Seconds, fill out the form. I just pasted it in the chat. It's just a lot easier, you know. You guys just fill out the form really quick and submit your question too, you know, so you guys have that there. And remember, we're spreading the love, 50% off that setup fee, all right? That's a great deal. Take advantage of that. Now we're going to get to our Q&A portion, and we have a few questions that came through already. So if you guys have questions down, you guys can submit it. All right, I'm just going to start with the top down, but we did answer one already. So the first one was, currently we only have 10 route representatives. Is this something that would be able to help? Is this something that will be able to help me now? And I know that, yes, the answer was yes to that Steve had answered before. And then Chris Green says, as a new OIS user, does Badger integrate with the app, or is it completely independent? Could it in the future?
So yeah, great question, Chris.
Great question.
So the way right now, the way we're doing this is the data often live wherever the data lives. OIS and Badger are both grabbing that information. So maybe your customer data lives in an ERP system, maybe it's in a spreadsheet, maybe it's in a CRM system, but both of these applications on your mobile device are integrating with that information. And a lot of companies already have a place like that where their information lives. But yes, that in the future, you know, we may actually integrate these things directly as well. But for right now, the way it looks like the best way to have these two things work together is just integrating with a customer's existing data information.
That's correct. So what Steve's saying is that definitely we will be integrating with Badger mapping. Right now it's more of two standalone systems. So, but basically, you know, you can do both jobs independently. So, but in the future, definitely we're going to be integrating.
Okay. Well, great question, guys. If you guys have any more questions, please submit now. But I have another question that I thought of. Steve, could you share like an example of a company that successfully implemented the sales route planning with your solution, and that what kind of lessons they learned from it, from the experience of like implementing?
Yeah, sure. You know, and there's thousands of companies that
I'm
do this.
sure,
We actually
yeah.
have a whole section on our webpage where different companies, if you look up customers on there, where they talk about their individual results that they attained from this.
Mhm.
But in lessons learned, I think, let's see, some great lessons. I think, see, like kind of thinking about and communicating what you want and what you're trying to accomplish, because with us
Mhm.
is really important, because we do integrations like this all the time. We set people up all the time, and so it's really important to like do a trial, look at what it looks like, and think about, well, what would be really valuable to us once we've got this in the field, because a lot of times we've already run into something, and
Mhm.
so we already have a tool built to do a certain thing, or we have a way of doing that, and I guess another lesson learned, sometimes I'll run into customers who've been using us for years, and they'll ask for something, and I'm like, oh, that exists already. It's in there. You just have to press this button, or we just have to, set it up like this. And so a lot of things that people want are already, it's already kind of, we've already seen it before, I guess. There's only so
Okay,
many
gotcha.
there's only so many problems that someone in the field
Mhm.
runs into, and so we've probably seen it before. I get, if you go to our website, you can see our customers page with some great stuff. Cutter and Buck, they're like a sportswear company. They sell stuff to anywhere that sells golf equipment or golf courses, and their reps were getting 12 meetings a week, and that jumped to 20 once they brought in Badger. So that's
Wow.
and they got a 22% increase in their annual revenues.
Wow.
Wow,
And
that's
this is all stuff
awesome.
they're able to track, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
Grad
Mhm.
Solutions is a company that they had a goal set of 10 meetings a week. Or I'm sorry, 10 meetings a day, or 50 per week. And they were able to meet their goals by when they implemented Badger. Until then, they never had the organization to do it. So that's kind of that's a nice example. NCR Aloha, they sell to like
Mhm.
anywhere, like convenience stores and places that have checkout machines. So like, where you swipe your credit card and stuff. And they calculated they were already tracking their routes, as most people do, like they're tracking their mileage. And they say that Badger's route optimization cuts their drive time by 25%. So
Wow.
that's and
Wow, that's awesome.
they told us that each rep saved 8 hours a week, and sales increased 20%, which is pretty,
Wow.
I'd say that's the average. Like we
Mhm.
hear those numbers a lot, and I'm not sure why that is. I think it's got something to do with the 80-20 rule or something, but
Mm.
that's a we hear those same numbers over and over again. I'm always like, really, you too? That exact number, not 25,
Wow.
not 15%, not 25%, 20.
20%.
We do see that.
That's
I
great.
haven't figured that one out mathematically, but there's something.
Mhm.
I think there's something to the difference between what a human mind and like using Excel and Google Maps can
Mhm.
do from a routing perspective, and then what a computer can do with it. I suspect it has
Right.
something to do with that.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for sharing. And that's the end of our Q&A, guys. But if you have any questions, let me know. I can definitely like send them out to Steve and he can answer directly. But all right. And now, guys, the big reveal, our special gift, what you've been waiting for. All right. As a thank you guys for attending this webinar, Steve has offering a 2-month free trial on Badger Maps. And what does this mean? Guys, if you go to his website, regular website, you're only going to get 2 weeks. So you want to go through us, right? So you can get your 2 months, all right? Your 2 months. And then all you guys have to do, it's super easy. All you need to do is fill out the form, and I'm going to paste it in the chat. You're going to fill out that form, and then on the thank you page, you guys are going to get a link so that you guys can just click on that link and you can sign up for the free 2 month trial. I'm also going to be emailing it after the webinar as well. Okay, so that's all you need to do to take advantage of this free 2 month trial. And guys, I know you're tired of the route mapping, and I know that it's hard. So I think you guys will be amazed by all the features. You guys can try it out for 2 months and see if it works for your company, right? You got nothing to lose there. So, all right. And then I just wanted to also mention, if you guys wanted to connect with the speakers, right, with Steve and Oscar, you guys can connect with them through email and also through phone numbers, which I will again email to everyone, right? And connect with them on LinkedIn, guys. Make sure you're making these connections. You guys are, part of the webinar, part of this industry. So make sure you guys are making the connections, right? Just go to LinkedIn, type in their name, and you guys can let them know how great they did in this presentation today, all right? And lastly, guys, that's all for today. Thank you to everyone who attended this webinar, Steve, Oscar, all of our OIS customers and Steve's clients as well. All right, OIS is going to continue to make more webinars like this for our customers because we want to see your business succeed. And we're going to continue to have one webinar a month with different trending topics, right? So that provide value to all you guys. And, like I always say at every webinar, if we win, guys, if you win, we all win. That's what I say. If you win, we all win. All right. So keep your heads up for upcoming webinars. And then just to let you guys know, and those of you that can stay like a minute after, right? This is like the ending credits of a movie. Like you get the extra stuff right now. All right. Last month we had a webinar on empowering your salespeople and sales leaders with sales expert Dave Tail. So if you guys missed that, you guys can go to our YouTube channel and you guys can check that out, okay? And then I'm just gonna put our YouTube link in the chat so you guys can visit that. And again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Oscar. All right, this has been great, guys. We'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank you.